Mic's up.
I'm sorry about that. I told him, I said, what is it, they're mistaking you for me because you're working long hours and you're tired.
Good afternoon. Right now you have all of your county resources deployed, regional and state resources as necessary, working for you, for the community, to look out for the safety of our community and to address the current situation. This issue with the fire at the ITC facility is a fire at a private facility where Harris County has been in a supporting role since the beginning. We activated our EOC and we are working around the clock to respond, to make sure we're collecting air quality information and to share the information we have as soon as we have it with the public to make sure that we're keeping our community informed. What folks are seeing right now is a plume that is moving across the county. The plume is still above, and toward the afternoon will be above 4,000 feet, and we have Jeff Linder here to answer questions later. But essentially, it is being pushed toward Galena Park, up toward Jersey Village, and it's staying high enough that the impacts on air quality right now are not high, are not measurable. We're not measuring a level that is beyond, that is cause for alarm. En este momento están viendo todos sus recursos del condado Harris, los recursos regionales de las ciudades vecinas, todos trabajando para ustedes, trabajando para mantener su seguridad, para mantener la calidad, monitorear la calidad del aire y también informar a la comunidad cualquier cosa que entendemos. El humo en este momento se encuentra a 3,000, 4,000 pies y más arriba, se está moviendo hacia el noroeste, hacia Jersey Village, hacia Galena Park. In terms of what folks are seeing, and we recognize that the black plume is causing concern because it's visible. So we have our public health expert here to answer any questions about that. But in essence, if folks come into contact with ash, it can be washed away. The impacts are different for vulnerable communities, so Dr. Shaw is here to speak on that as necessary. The air quality, we've got monitors all throughout our county. Harris County has put out air quality monitors. We've built a website, readyharris.org/Deer Park Fire, and there we have mobile monitors reporting the air quality in different locations, and they're moving to areas of concern. With us putting information as soon as we get it, you have the latest as far as Harris County, but we're also linking out to data from TCEQ and other partners that have additional monitors, and folks can see the raw data as well as the interpretation that right now all the monitors we're seeing are showing standard levels of air quality, and we will be having another reading in those Harris County air quality monitors here as we speak. On public health concerns, as I said, there's reports of residue, you can just wash it off, watch for pets, watch for family and neighbors, especially those who are elderly. But right now there is no issuance of a specific warning because the plume is thankfully high enough. Nuevamente, el Departamento de Salud Pública está aquí para hablar. Hay temas de que ve la gente, pues material que cae del aire. Ese material en este momento se lo pueden lavar. Hay consideraciones específicas para niños, para poblaciones vulnerables, pero en general no tenemos causa para alarma en este momento. Estamos preparados para responder si es necesario. También en readyharris.org/Deer Park Fire tenemos información acerca de todo el monitoreo de la calidad del aire y también acerca de la salud pública. We will be adding information about public health on that website, on readyharris.org/Deer Park Fire. We've got links there to public health. We will continue improving on that website and adding information and linking out to our partners. But we are testing for the different volatile organic compounds that are under concern. Our partners are out there monitoring the situation, providing all the support that they can. I will call on the mayor of Deer Park, who's here to give a message, then the mayor of Houston, and we have all our experts here ready to answer any questions folks might have.
Thank you, Judge Hidalgo. First, I'd like to start out, as I did yesterday, by thanking the first responders for the efforts that they are making, and I would encourage everyone, not only here today, but in the community, to keep all of them in your prayers and pray that they would be safe as we all work together to try to bring this situation to a conclusion. It is evolving. It is a dangerous situation, but all of us are here for one reason today, and that is to work together to find solutions to put this fire out and find a conclusion to this event. All of us are also here working together efficiently to assure the public that we are monitoring throughout the region, but in the city of Deer Park, to watch the air quality. Currently, they're all coming back good. So from the perspective of the city of Deer Park, it currently is good. The air quality is good, and we're monitoring it, and we're going to continue to monitor it as this event continues to unfold. From that perspective, I appreciate all the effort that the county and the region is making. I know our industry partners are working very well and hard to aid and support each other in providing the resources for the responders that are on the ground attempting to deal with this situation. So thank you all for being here.
Mayor Turner.
Thank you. Let me start off by thanking County Judge Hidalgo for her leadership and for your leadership on this effort. Situations are always fluid and dynamic, and you never know which direction things will go. But let me thank you for the leadership, Judge, that you have provided and continue to provide. I'm also honored to be standing here with Mayor Mouton from Deer Park because we all recognize that it takes a very collective effort to reassure the public that we're all standing shoulder to shoulder to make sure that we're protecting their interests. And let me just say that, of course, this fire is one that started on Sunday at the Intercontinental Terminal Company, ITC, and that has created a lot of visible smoke with the plume that the county judge spoke about that we're all kind of monitoring very, very closely. We know that the fire started on Sunday morning at the ITC plant in several tanks on the property in Deer Park. There are 15 tanks located on that farm. There have been a number of calls that have been made to the city of Houston, and so I want to respond to people who have called in and continue to call in, that we are all monitoring the situation very, very closely. And at this time, there does not appear to be a danger to people in the city of Houston. But again, the situation remains very fluid, and because of that, it's important for us to continue to monitor the situation very closely. I know the cloud of dark smoke seems ominous as it spreads over parts of the city of Houston, but we want to assure everyone that the air quality is being monitored around the clock. For example, I want people to know that in the city of Houston, there are 10 benzene monitors in Houston that are providing hourly readings for us. And let me just stop because I'm also to have here today, along with the county team, Judge, Chief Buenick from the Office of Emergency Management is here. Chief Pena from the Fire Department. Chief Acevedo from HPD. Dr. Purse, and all of our the team that will be pretty much stationed right here at TransStar until this fire is out. But there are 10 benzene monitors in the Houston area providing hourly readings. The City of Houston has provided the mobile air ambient monitoring lab, which is now stationed in Deer Park. There are some handheld monitors, about 6 of them, that are being utilized. And then there are 20 particle monitors at various fire departments positioned around the city. I want to say, the reason I want to point all of those things out is that there's an increasing web of monitors throughout the city of Houston that are providing readings to all of us in real time, and in many cases even on an hourly basis. So we are monitoring the situation very, very carefully. The Houston Health Department and other agencies have been monitoring the air quality throughout the city, and based on our initial readings, there is no cause for alarm again at this time. However, we do advise people with respiratory issues to be aware that there may be moderate risk for health complications, and to contact your healthcare providers if you're experiencing any discomfort or trouble in breathing. I also want to indicate that the city is providing additional resources. Just like I think early this morning, there was a request for more water to enhance the water pressure. And so the City of Houston provided 5,000 gallons per minute from Channel Industries Water Authority, which the city controls. And we stand ready to do and provide any additional resources that are needed. What is important on our end is to let people know that we are working directly with the county, with Judge Hidalgo. She and I talk on a regular basis in terms of what is needed, working with people in the region to provide whatever support that's needed. And then secondly, we want to make sure that we do everything, that we hold people accountable, that this situation will be quickly contained. And we do know that ITC has brought on a third contractor to assist in that effort, Williams Fire and Hazard, to help to control the situation. So we are providing support, and then we're making sure that we hold everyone accountable, but we will continue to join with the county and people and partners in the region to monitor the situation. And what I would say to the general public, if we detect that there's any problem, any cause for alarm, we will be the first to let you know. Until then, we just ask people to pay attention to the reports, and then we'll continue to look at our monitors, and then we'll govern ourselves accordingly. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll take some questions now.
So the county judge, we've heard reports that other nearby refineries, plants are evacuating their employees out of caution. Can you comment at all about that?
That is something that's up to the plants at this moment. Do we have someone who can comment on that? Someone of the experts?
Are other plants evacuating their employees?
Yes, we don't have that information, so we can get back with you on that. Thank you.
For the mayor of Deer Park,
Yeah.
one note that came out this morning, this is from dispatch logs from first responders. It said fire breaching the south dike wall using quick foam at this time. How is this impacting the surrounding area? From our chopper, it looked like there was at least some runoff heading towards the ship channel area.
Well, there's some speculation of that, but it's being contained to the best of my understanding. And any issues outside of the dike, I know all the tanks are being drained and started early today to make sure that if it does breach the dike, that it'll be in an area that there's nothing that will catch on fire.
Well, so to be clear, I mean, it has not breached the dike yet?
It has not breached the dike yet.
Okay, any runoff? Are you seeing any runoff outside of the property? Because
No, sir.
from what we're saying, okay.
Our choppers see foam and water being poured into the ship channel like they're trying to dilute something.
There's a lot of water being brought in to obviously put on the fire, and there's a lot of foam being used, and that seems to be the main component of what they're trying to do to keep any aspect of anything that might potentially break out in a fire. So there's a lot of water and a lot of foam.
And
So-
let me add, right now, all the resources are deployed. This Williams foam company is really, best in the business as far as helping to put this out, which the facility has requested. And we're also working with the Coast Guard. They're part of our operations, and we're in constant touch with them about any possible impacts on the water.
How are you able to prevent the fire from breaching the dike?
Those are technical questions that are being led by the incident commanders on site, which is currently the company, and that's fluctuating information. So everybody is pulling all the resources they can. We're following their lead on strategy and providing all of the support. As you heard from Mayor Turner, you were all pulling in resources, and so be assured that that folks are Harris County. We're doing our part to meet any requests, and they're fighting this as best possible. We're keeping an eye on it.
So
I
the
can't give more
information
details.
you're getting is from the company itself? Is it the
No.
company's in charge, or?
So the company is the lead on the response. This is a private facility fire. We have Harris County is there at the table. As I've mentioned before, our fire marshal is there, is part of the group. We have our sheriff, Constable Precinct 8, providing support, and they're monitoring the situation and responding in the best way possible. It's a fluctuating incident, and so I'm hesitant to provide any further information beyond that, because as we've seen overnight and throughout the day, it's changing. Yes.
Mayor Turner, you said that the city began providing water to the facility to fight the fire this morning, is that correct?
I'm thinking it was yes, that's when the call came in, when the pressure went down and they needed more water.
They stopped having enough water at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. And I was just curious, have you heard why there was that gap in time between this morning and last night? They said the fire boats ran out of water, and that's why the fire spread to a couple other tanks. I was just wondering if the city heard.
I can't speak to that. I know when the request came in, we've responded. And so we have provided them now 5,000 gallons from a water source that Channel Industries that we control. And we stand ready to assist, to provide whatever they need to assist. We want to be very, very supportive to what's happening out there. ITC, along with a third-party contractor, pretty much are in charge, and what I would say in charge for now. But it is important to get this fire contained and under control and to minimize the risk. So emptying any tanks out there, they need to start doing that. But they need to be very proactive at getting the situation under control. What we are attempting to do is make sure that we carefully monitor, working with the judge and the county, to carefully monitor, to contain, and to let people know if there are any dangers that present
Judge, we
themselves.
talked to a lot of people in East Harris County who are skeptical. Why do you think that county residents appear more likely to trust the county in flood emergencies than chemical ones?
Right now, what I can say is we've got a bias for transparency and information, and we want to really help protect and stand forward with the public in this incident. So what we're doing, sharing all the information. I'll call Dr. Shaw up in a minute. I know the concerns and I understand the concerns when you see a plume of smoke, perhaps material coming down. It's worrisome, and we understand that. We are also looking at all the science and the data. We're not in a position to raise further alarm, and we have to be responsible not to do that when it's not time. That we are prepared where there to be a need. I know all the localities are prepared where there to be a need for a shelter in place. We're ready where there to be a need for any emergency situation declaration. We're prepared for any contingency. Right now, Mother Nature has helped us with this plume, and our monitors are looking good. We're putting all the information out. Dr. Shaw, why don't you speak a little bit to the health concerns? And I'll say we're adding the health information on our website, the readyharris.org/Deer Park Fire. Well, it has a link to public health, and we'll be building that out to add more health information depending on the kind of community you are, because we want to be responsive to, there's obviously a disconnect. People are seeing the air quality data, but at the same time they're seeing the plume. So that's challenging, and we just need to make sure we get folks all the information that they need.
Thank you, Judge. So Dr. Umair Shah, Executive Director of Harris County Public Health, also the local health authority for Harris County. And thank you, Judge, for having me here. Thank you, Mayor. I know Dr. David Purse is here with as a colleague of ours at the City of Houston as the local health authority there. And as the judge and the mayor have both really articulated, based on the information that we currently have, this is a summation of air monitoring. There is really continues to be low risk to our community in general, right? And I think that's the key piece here, is that it's really a combination of exposure and susceptibility. And so I'm going to use a couple of technical terms, but I need to unpack them and explain them. Exposure means that there's really, we know chemical that's really in the fire plant, in the fire, as part of what's going into the environment, into the community, into the air. But it's, as the judge and the mayor have mentioned, it is several thousand feet up. And so we recognize that there is not specific exposure to people based on all of the summation of monitoring that's been happening. That said, we also recognize, and this is the nuanced message, that there are people in our community that if temperature changes, spring goes to fall, that people have asthma, people have COPD, respiratory disease, they have other medical conditions. Sometimes that very quickly a change in anything can trigger a health-related issue, or shortness of breath, or wheezing, or coughing, etc. And so what we're really trying to do is to have this careful message to the entirety of the community. The entirety of the community, low risk. Low risk because the exposure is of low risk based on all of the information that we have. However, there are certain members of our community, not because of the exposure necessarily, but because of their own susceptibility, their own medical such as shortness of breath, or other kinds of cough, or sneezing, or irritants, or they may have other symptoms. And so what we want to do is be mindful of ensuring that populations in our community overall recognize that we are monitoring, we are ensuring the health and safety. What's the number one public health concern that we have is the health and safety of our community. But at the same time, messaging that if you feel you're experiencing symptoms, that you make contact with your healthcare provider. Now, children, elderly, folks that may be on immunosuppression like steroids, maybe getting cancer treatment. We certainly recognize pregnant women and others who are in these categories that are of those special populations. We want to ensure that they are especially monitoring their symptoms. And certainly we also want people to check on their neighbors. Check on your uncle, your aunt, your grandmother, your grandfather, your neighbors, especially somebody who may not have others in the community, checking on them. Check on them, make sure they're doing okay. And then the final message is about pets. And we want to make sure that we're also remembering that both pets are obviously can't tell us if they've gotten out and gotten into something, and we want to make sure that you're monitoring that as well. The judge and the mayor made a comment about the fact that we're doing air monitoring, but there is a lot of concern about particulate matter, or what we call soot, or things that may be coming from the sky. So we are certainly mindful that people are reporting these kinds of things, and we're working with our partners to examine that, test that, and figure out if there is something in that that may be of concern. But again, if people are taking the appropriate precaution, it's on your car, it's in the lawn, use gloves, right? Don't expose yourself, don't expose your family. Make sure you're watching your kids and making sure that you're also watching your pets. Final message is that we're working with our partners, including our healthcare partners, our hospital system. Harris County Public Health just yesterday sent out a message to our area hospitals to ensure that they know that as we are telling the community, look, if you think you may have symptoms that may be similar or related to this situation, please go ahead and contact your healthcare provider. On the back end, we're also making sure that our healthcare providers know that these are the kinds of things that people may be presenting for or contacting them for. And finally, to make sure that they're saying that, let me ask you about exposure risk, so we have that all tied in together. So health and safety of our communities are our number one public health concern at this time.
Judge Adele, since ITC has taken the lead on the response, are you satisfied with ITC's response, and what exactly is the city and the county's plan if the winds do shift?
So ITC is taking the lead because it's a private facility, and that's the way the responsibility and the way this works.
But you can take over if you're unhappy with the response.
So currently, and we've, you know, of course, you look at all the situations right now, they've got the expertise, they've got all the resources, and it's an incident where obviously you don't want to step into a moving incident and try and, you know, interfere. Currently, we're working in partnership with them. We've got our fire marshal hazmat team there working with them, and everyone is doing all they can to best support that.
So are you satisfied with the response from ITC thus far?
I mean, right now what I can say is everybody is doing their absolute best. We are observing and supporting the situation. They are the leads in this. We are doing the best with the information that we have. It's a moving target, right? And so we'll have to look back. But right now, we're doing everything we can with the information we have and providing the best support we possibly can. If the winds were to shift, and this is what I was going to say to, in addition to what Dr. Shaw was saying, that's the concern, right? Is were the winds to shift, were the air to come down, then it could be a bigger threat to our community. And so I can have Jeff Linder speak to this briefly, but the sense is that we will get a heads up. Exactly. So we have contingency plans to watch for that, you know, whether it means shelter in place in some cities, whether it means it will depend on, you know, what exactly happens to the plume. Right now it's like a band, you know, it's being flown off. As the plume rises, it's being sent out. And so whatever the response is will depend on what actually happens to the plume. And as everybody knows, you know, the weather is something that shifts, but we hope we'll have enough leeway and headway to be able to respond accordingly. Jeff, do you want to add anything about this?
Yeah, so we're monitoring the wind conditions, and we do have a National Weather Service meteorologist now on site here to help support me in the plume modeling. We're expecting light southeast to east-southeast winds today, so that has shifted the plume a little bit to the north of where it was yesterday. So along the US 290 corridor from Waller County, Jersey Village, back down towards the fire source in Deer Park. The plume height is way up there today, so we're talking above 4,000 feet, possibly could get up as high as 6,200 feet this afternoon. So this is significantly higher than yesterday. We are monitoring tonight as the winds relax or weaken. That plume height could drop down. The last 2 mornings, that plume height has gotten down to around 400 to 500 feet. It has not fallen below that level. We are also monitoring for fog development tomorrow morning. Right now it's looking like a less than a 10% chance of fog development. And why that's important is that could help pull some of that particulate matter and air quality concerns closer to the surface if we had fog. And that would be very similar to what we saw on New Year's Day morning when we had very hazardous air quality in the county. Right now we are not seeing a high fog signal in any of the models for tomorrow morning. And the last thing to point out is at the fire site alone, when you have a very intense fire like this, it can start to create some of its own type of weather. And we have seen some of that at the site where the winds are shifting and increasing rapidly in different directions right at the fire site. So this is acting a little bit like a wildfire would act in a serious situation, say out in California or the West.
Judge, if I can just add, what I will say, and I think we're all on the same page on this, regardless of city, county, is that we do expect ITC to use. Thanks. We do expect ITC to utilize every available resource to contain and put out this fire.
But what is the threshold for deciding when that response is no longer adequate, and who makes that decision?
Well, I think that situation is being carefully monitored. But let me just
By who?
let me just be very clear. We do expect them to utilize every available resource and hold them accountable to take all steps to contain and put this fire out as quickly as possible. Now that's expected, and we are holding them accountable for that, because this fire is supposed to burn a couple of more days, so to speak. But I think what the public expects, and certainly what we expect from them, is to utilize every available resource, to call on all available resources, to assume the cost of whatever it takes to contain and put these fires out
But
as quickly as
at this
possible.
time, do you have a timeline? Because I know that they said yesterday, a couple of days, that would have been to yesterday, but at this point, do you have a better timeline as to when the fire
At
could
this
be
point,
put out and contained?
it's hard to give a timeline because it keeps shifting. You also, there was a shift tonight, there was a shift with the water. What I'm heartened by is the bringing of this third-party support and hopefully moving into an offensive position soon. But we'll have to see, with a situation like a fire, and I think the analogy that Jeff was using, it's a very dynamic situation. So I can't give you more than that because we just don't have a specific timeline. But we're doing our best, and as soon as we know something, we'll inform the community. As soon as we have a glimpse of, okay, this looks like it'll burn out by this day or it'll be contained by this day, I'll be the first one to share it, and we'll make sure that it gets out.
Are you relying solely on ITC for those answers?
Excuse me?
Are you relying solely on ITC to give those answers?
We have our folks in the room right now, and so we're making sure we get that information as well. And the other thing is we got 2 representatives from ITC here at the Emergency Operations Center today, which we've been asking for. And it really, it's a balance because it's a private facility, has the expertise and the knowledge, and have been leading this. And so we're really supporting and informing and watching very closely. But it's a balance that you have to strike there.
Can anybody address this? We've gotten several calls into our newsroom about people concerned about a risk of those tanks exploding with a benzene danger. Is that anything to make anything of? We've gotten multiple calls from families of people fighting that fire.
So we know that we're asking all of those questions. As of right now, the last I know, that's not a risk that has been brought up to me. But again, I will, we're watching. We've got our people in there. We're asking the questions. We're part of this, and we will inform folks if there is a risk. Our air quality monitors, they're measuring for benzene. We recognize that's a scary thing for people as well. Right now, we're not seeing elevated readings. We're really having the benefit of the weather and the wind.
Let me add to address a couple of questions. Number one, your question was built upon the possibility or hypotheticalness that there is a resources that are not being utilized. We're here today to assure you that every resource available is being utilized to address it, to prevent the concerns of the questions that you asked. If anything can be done to prevent any scenario that might be asked or dealt with, is why we are here today, to show that we're working together. In regards to the question going back, since I am from the East End, if you haven't been out there, it's one thing to see it on TV, but to see it in person, it's a concerning situation to look at, which is, again, why we're here today, to address the scenarios that though everyone has concerns in this room, everyone here would like to say we could put this thing out today and be done with it. We're dealing with this as it evolves, but the main reason I'm here today is to address the concerns that we are doing everything possible with every resource available to monitor this situation, and as it changes, you will be the first ones to know in regards to how we're going to address it.
So the county judge, the mayor, just to follow up on this again, do you feel that ITC is fighting this fire as aggressively as possible? Because that's something we continue to hear from viewers across Harris County. Do you feel that this company is taking every single measure they can at this precise moment to put this flame out?
But when you say it that way, you're almost saying it as if they're the only ones addressing this
We've
fire.
heard criticism from public leaders.
No, there is a unified effort across the board from every mutual aid. Everybody that can be available is being made available to tackle and address this situation. So it's not like ITC is out there fighting it by themselves.
And know that that's a question I'm continually asking, and making sure, okay, what else do you need? What else can we support you with? Who else can we bring in here? And please come to our Emergency Operations Center, because we want to make sure we're keeping tabs on everything, so that if our folks have any ideas on additional steps they should be taking, that they're sharing those. Yes?
Can you talk more about the contingency plan that you all mentioned? What sort of resources do you have ready? What are you talking about? What do people expect?
Right now, it is the monitoring, it is looking at possibilities of shelter, possibilities of an emergency declaration, possibilities of, basically, we're mapping out all sorts of different scenarios and preparing for them just in case. But as I said, we don't want to raise alarm unnecessarily. Right now, we're in a situation where the plume is far off the ground. We're not seeing dramatic upticks in health concern reportings, and it's really just this contrast of, you see the plume, but the monitors are showing that the levels are fine, and it's understandable why people would be scared, and that's why we want to make clear that we are all coming together, we're sharing information with each other, and we're sharing information with the public so that everybody knows that, to the best of what we know, what is out there, what we're doing, and where we're headed.
Speaking of planning, I got to get some of these sorts of planning meetings, a lot of fire chiefs, police chiefs, the people that are involved in the
Well, I'd like
planning
to ask
process.
either Dr.
So
Spurs
one
or
more,
Dr. Shar.
one more,
Dr. Spurs or
who
Dr.
haven't asked the
Shar.
question, that would be great.
Yeah, so we'll take one more. I know you've asked a few.
Who hasn't asked the question?
Who hasn't?
¿Qué es lo que sigue? ¿Qué le pueden decir a la gente? ¿Cuál es el plan de contingencia? Porque ciertamente esto ya lleva 3 días. Ayer decían, podemos esperar 2 días más. Sin embargo, hoy existe la posibilidad de que esto continúe por más tiempo. ¿Cuál es el plan? ¿Cuál es la contingencia o el asunto? ¿Cómo va a ser en un futuro, tal vez en estos próximos días? Porque ciertamente la gente está extremadamente preocupada, y lo peor de todo es que no creen lo que están mencionando ustedes como autoridades porque creen que tal vez no tienen mucho conocimiento de la situación real.
Sí, en este momento estamos todos trabajando en pro de la comunidad y en monitorear la situación. No podemos ofrecer un horario claro porque es un fuego, es un incendio, entonces no se puede predecir exactamente qué es lo que va a suceder. Lo que sí podemos decir es que estamos monitoreando la situación y tenemos planes para cualquier opción. Si el humo fuera a bajar hacia la tierra, tenemos opciones de qué puede hacer el condado, qué pueden hacer las distintas ciudades, cómo se le va a informar al público, pero invitamos al público que visite la página web de readyharris.org Deer Park Fire y que se mantengan al tanto en los medios. Si hay cualquier situación de salud, de cambio del viento, se le informará al público. En este momento el humo se encuentra a 4,000, puede subir hasta 6,000 pies. Entonces hemos tenido muy buena suerte con esa situación.
¿Qué pasa si cambia el viento?
Depende, y el viento ya analizaremos, depende de cómo cambia el viento. Si el clima cambia de cierta manera que el humo baje hacia la tierra, pues ahí vamos a tener van a haber impactos en la salud de la gente. Si el viento cambia de que en vez de ir hacia el oeste va hacia el este, bueno, pues se sigue, pero sigue a esa misma altura, pues se sigue yendo el humo. Entonces depende realmente qué va a suceder con el clima, pero lo estamos monitoreando y tenemos suficiente tiempo para poder responder a cualquier cambio. En este momento es estable el clima, el viento también, y estamos en una situación donde se mantiene el humo sobre la tierra a miles de pies.
I need to go to the planning meeting. We'll bring some folks that can ask background or something. I need to get some of these folks to the planning meeting, so we'll get you the information. So
Thank you,
stick around and
folks.
we'll provide it.
Thank you.
Give me 1 second.
Steve, is it this one? Oh.